This month I have $3,000. I spend $2,000 on rent, $400 on groceries, $400 on dining, $100 on supplies and household items, another $200 for utilities, and another $200 for gas. And I'm down $300 for the month. My rent is $2,000 a month. I spend about $800 in expenses and another $200 to dine out and just enjoy with friends. I make $3,000 a month, so I make ends meet. I make $3,500 a month. I pay rent, which is $1,800, and then I spend another $700 on all expenses a month. I'm left with $1,000 of surplus to save for my down payment every month. I'm going to tell you right now that these three methods are not going to help you save for a down payment for a house. For starters, if you spend more than what you make or as much as you make, you're not saving at all. The third option is a great start, but the savings rate isn't as fast as home prices increasing. What's up everyone? This is Alex with Sinspiration, the only place where I inspire you to develop a growth mindset. In my last video, I talked about how I bought a house and moved out of my parents' house. So go check it out and hear more about my life update. Today I want to share with you my story of how I saved for my down payment to buy my house. By no means is it a quick process, and everything may not be applicable to you. Take what you can from my story and experiences and apply it to your situation. Everything will depend on one major factor: discipline. In 2017, when I just started working, I was in San Diego. I paid about $1,550 in rent, and I spent about $600 to $800 a month on expenses, from groceries, dining out, supplies, utilities, and entertainment. I also set aside 10% of my salary towards my 401k and another 5% towards my company's employee stock purchase plan. And this $1,000 a month was a great starting point. I met my goal, so I was happy. I think that someone my age, just starting out in his career, saving $1,000 a month after all expenses was a great start. And what I would still do is I would keep track of all my expenses and actually look for opportunities to minimize unnecessary expenses. I bought groceries in bulk whenever possible, bought store brands instead of well-known brands, and USDA Choice instead of USDA Prime beef. Yes, there's a significant price difference between the two, even though the quality for Prime is really good. That's for special occasions only. But Charmaine Ultra Soft toilet paper is non-negotiable for me. I clipped coupons from Albertsons, used the deals and points from fast food restaurant apps, got the 10 cents per gallon off with fuel rewards at Shell, and figured out how to maximize cashback from all of my credit cards. This was my frugal lifestyle that I established immediately after I started working. And I didn't stop there, saving $1,000 a month. I actually invested this money into stocks, CDs, high yield savings, so that I could let that money appreciate and collect dividends and interest. And whenever I got pay raises, I didn't change my standard of living. And so I would save all of the additional money that I got and invest. But the reality is everything that I have done would only save me a few $100s a month. And that's great, but by the time I save enough money for a down payment to buy a house that costs this much, the home prices would have already increased to up here. That's problematic because it means that the home prices are increasing more than what I can save. Of course, it's also dependent on the maximum loan amount, which is dependent on how much salary you have. But we all know that home prices are increasing faster than salary increases. And so to put this into perspective, my affordability is right here. The home price today is here, but over the years, that gap is widening. Something needs to change. I need a new strategy. Fast forward 3 years, I landed a job that brought me back to the San Francisco Bay Area. While I was really excited to come back home, I was also looking forward to that 40% compensation increase compared to San Diego and living at home with parents so that I can save from rent. And this was also during COVID, so everything was work from home. The ultimate question, how much did I save from rent? Now, if I were to rent, I would have gotten a 1-bed, 1-bath apartment because I want to have my own space and privacy. In San Jose, this costs about $2,600 a month, and this is the average price since 2020, since it has been fluctuating around this amount. And so using this number as an estimate, that would be $31,200 a year and $93,600 over 3 years. Now this is one of the most feasible ways to save for a down payment for a house. It wasn't all for free though. Living at home with parents meant the expenses increased, including groceries, water, gas, electricity, and of course, toilet paper. I offered mom $1,000 a month, but she was kind enough to only charge me $500, but also have me purchase takeout once or twice a week. Remember, this was during COVID, so we had to take out a lot of food instead of dining out. This would also help my mom and not have to cook every single day. And so overall, I still spent about $600 to $800 a month, which is roughly the exact amount of expenses I had when I lived in San Diego. And in 2021, we had our best friend, inflation. And so what mom did was she bumped it up to $600 a month, and I thought it was reasonable. But remember that the inflation rate went as high as 9.6% in 2022? At that point, I had to pay mom $800 a month for all of these expenses. And as things were opening up, I also went out more often to dine out and spend time with friends. And so my personal expenses went up to maybe $1,000 to $1,200 a month. Luckily, my company was doing well and I got multiple pay raises and new stock grants. It was even better when I made an internal switch at my company, and that gave me a 20% pay bump. Now, as someone who maintains his standard of living despite increasing income, I was able to save $10,000 a month, in addition to 10% of saving towards my 401k. Moreover, I invested my savings into stocks, and so I let my money appreciate and also get dividends. I also put my money into high yield savings, CDs, and I bonds so that I can gather interest. It comes down to how much you save, which limits how much you invest, and how much you save is limited by how much you make. And that's why it is so important to continue to increase your income so that you can save more. You have to be able to increase your income and save at the same time in order to save up for a down payment for a house. And that's why discipline is so important. While this video focuses more on saving, you can check out my other videos about investing and growing your income in the description. Living with parents isn't a bad idea. In our American culture, it seems that if you're not living by yourself outside of your parents' place, you're not independent. No, it's a privilege to be able to rent and have your own place. In fact, in Hong Kong, a lot of my friends and family chose not to rent and stay at home with family because the rent is just so much more expensive compared to the paychecks they get. I will tell you for certain that the apartments and condos in Hong Kong are way smaller than what you pay for in America. And think about our parents and grandparents. They most likely lived with their parents for longer because they couldn't afford the rent that was also expensive at the time, but also they had to support the family. And so renting is a privilege. We are privileged to be able to afford to have our own place outside. Remember that. Of course, it will depend on where your job is located, And so you may not have a choice but to rent. But you do have a choice of how many roommates that you want to have and the size of the apartment or house that you're going to rent. And also the location, which is usually the biggest factor when it comes to pricing. I'll also mention that with more chores that are split amongst everyone in the household and mom cooking most of the meals, props to mom, I actually have a lot more personal time, which is the most valuable resource. In fact, with all this extra time, I was really able to focus on my part-time masters while working full-time and start this YouTube channel. And so if I didn't move back home, I probably wouldn't have started Sinspiration and help you develop a growth mindset through all of my videos. I hope you learned something from my story. Start saving more for your down payment by living at home with parents, getting more roommates in a house or apartment, or even renting a smaller place. Think about how much space you actually need. Doing this will put you ahead of most people. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content on how to develop a growth mindset. You've been inspired today. You want to be a super saver? Minimize your largest expense, housing.